If motivation worked, you wouldn't be watching this right now. You'd already be done. If you've ever done a month's work in a weekend and then avoided one email for 3 weeks, this episode is about you. Hi, my name is Gonzalo Gonzalo Herrera. I'm your host here at Rise 41. And today we're going to be talking about why motivation fails ADHD high performers. That's the topic of today's video essay. So, hey, strap in and let's just dig right into it so that you not only understand the issue, but after watching this video, you should have actionable things you can do that will help you as an high performing person with ADHD perform better and understand how motivation works or doesn't work for us and how we can change that in order to achieve things even better. So let's go ahead. Let's start with the first part. Let's talk about the lie that we're all being told here and start with that uncomfortable truth. If motivation actually worked, we wouldn't need this episode, okay? You wouldn't need planners, you wouldn't need apps, you wouldn't need an IV of caffeine, you wouldn't need inspirational quotes or that one YouTube video you swear changes your life every 3 months or whatever. You just do the thing because that's how it should work, right? But here you are, and here I am. So let's stop pretending motivation is the answer. Today, we're talking about why motivation fails the ADHD high performer, why it works just enough to keep you confused, and what actually works instead. So, because if you have ADHD, like I do, if you're ambitious, driven, intelligent, and still inconsistent as hell, the problem sure is not discipline. The problem is that you were given a neurotypical operating manual for a Ferrari engine wired like a stolen dirt bike. That's one way of thinking about it. So, all right, the first part of this essay, just to like set the stage. ADHD high performers. Look, we're built different, but we're all judged the same. Let's define the species. An ADHD high performer is not lazy. We're not stupid and we're not unmotivated, okay? We are intense, for sure. We're vision driven. We're pattern recognizing. We're obsessive until we're bored. This is important. We're capable of insane output sometimes, not all the time, and maddeningly inconsistent. Okay? That's, you know, let's think about this. You've probably built something impressive from nothing at some point. You've probably pulled off miracles under pressure. I will bet you've probably done a month's work in a weekend, if you can, if you have. And then I also think that you completely ghosted basic habits like sleeping, meals, or checking your inbox because society will tell us, like, well, just be consistent with these things. Well, that's awesome. That's great advice. Super helpful. But that's like telling a tornado to calm down and move in a straight line, okay? It's just not going to work. So let's talk about the motivation myth and understand and why it screws with you and to understand this better. So motivation, the way we're being sold it is it's the thing that makes you do hard stuff. That's motivation, right? But in reality, motivation is a very short dopamine spike triggered by novelty, urgency, or emotion. And that's it. Motivation is not reliable. It's not trainable for sure, and it's not loyal in any way, shape, or form. For ADHD brains, motivation is especially treacherous because it's dopamine dependent and not values dependent. And here's what motivates ADHD people: new ideas, something new, exciting, novel, deadlines. Now we have a deadline. Pressure. Again, the ADHD brain is trained for pressure, optimized for it. Competition. We love competition for sure. Novelty. It's something new. It's something different. That'll get us going. A fear of embarrassment. I think a lot of ADHDers definitely would feel motivated by the I don't want to be embarrassed in front of my peers. And then, the emotional charge of this thing that you're attempting, that the emotional charge and what it brings, It's definitely like a motivator for the HD brain. It's novelty. Things that don't motivate us. Long-term goals, abstract rewards in the future that are nebulous. Someday, hey, someday we'll do this thing. Logic, just cold, boring logic. That can short circuit us. Shoulds. I should do this. I should do that. I should do the other thing. Doesn't work with the ADHD brain. And guilt. That 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 one will just drain you. That will just take the joy and the motivation out of anything if you feel guilted into it. So when people say you just need more motivation, what they're actually saying is you need a bigger dopamine hit, okay? And that works, for a second, but then it crashes super hard, okay? So why does that motivation work at first and then betrays us as ADHD people, high performing ADHD people? So there's what I call I guess a honeymoon phase, right? You start a new plan, you have a new notebook, you have a new app, a new training split if you're at the gym, a new morning routine. It's new, right? Your brain lights up like a little Christmas tree. Woo! Here we go. I'm motivated. I'm locked in. This is exciting. I'm unstoppable. There's no way this is gonna go wrong, and that's cool and works for about 7 to 21 days on average. And novelty fades, right? Because now you're doing the thing. The dopamine starts dropping because it started to become a routine and that friction appears. Now there's friction because now it's all of a sudden with that friction, the same task that you've been doing fine the first couple of weeks, it feels way heavier, way harder. Your brain is starting to resist, like, "Ugh, I really don't want to do that." You start kind of self-negotiating, like maybe if I do a little bit of this, I can do a little bit of that, whatever. And you start procrastinating. Look at, well, I have to do these other things first, before I get to the thing. Start self-criticizing. Am I doing this right? Am I doing it in the correct way? Is this really gonna work out like that? And all of these things together start to make you spiral. And this is where most people end up blaming themselves. But when you blame yourself, you've got the wrong target, okay? The issue isn't that motivation disappeared. The issue is that you built a system that only works when motivation is high. So it's kind of like building a business that only survives during Black Friday. So during Black Friday, gangbusters. Everything's on sale, everything's good, we're making money. But then a week later, no Black Friday, no one's coming. What happened? So let's talk about what happened. Dopamine economics, if you will. Your brain is a cheap, cheap bastard. And ADHD brains are ruthless efficiency machines, okay? They ask one question, and that's the only question an ADHD brain asks. Is this worth the dopamine cost? This thing you're going to make me do? If the answer is no, it's not worth it, you'll feel mental friction. You'll feel restless. You're going to start doing avoidance and engage in avoidance behaviors. You feel fatigued, like no energy to do this thing because it's not worth the cost, or your sudden interest in reorganizing your desk at 11 p.m. right before the deadline, you know, or some crazy thing like that that has nothing to do with it, like will make you procrastinate. This is more important. And this is why you can grind for 12 hours on something that's super cool and exciting, and I can get on it and be unstoppable. But that email that I hate, which will take me 2 minutes, I can't do it. It'll be weeks before I send out a stupid email. But it's not, it's it's not about willpower. It's about the dopamine ROI. And for those of you who don't know what ROI is, it's a return on investment. Motivation fails because it's expensive and it requires constant emotional input, and your brain hates the recurring costs. We don't mind paying the cost every so often, but when it's recurring, your brain will start rebelling. Okay. And now let's talk about the discipline lie and why it half works. Let's clear something up. Discipline does matter for sure, but not the way that it's traditionally preached for neurotypical people. Okay. Neurotypical discipline is I do the thing because I decided to do the thing. This is a neurotypical person. Like, I have to do X, so I'm doing X. For ADHD discipline is I remove the option not to do the thing. And there's a big difference there. If your system requires you to remember, to decide, to resist or to push or to self-regulate, and you're an ADHD person, that system's broken already. It's already broken. ADHD high performers don't need more discipline. What we need is fewer decisions. So what actually works? Let's talk about systems that work over feelings. And here's where we can pivot. This is important. High performing ADHD individuals succeed when they stop asking, how do I feel today? And they start asking, what does the system demand? Sounds like Mr. Spock or like something totally calculated, right? So things that work when you start thinking of things is, what does the system demand? Things that work. Some external structure that you can rely on. Some very clear and hard constraints. Your guardrails are very important, whatever it is that you're doing. Some identity based rules where you can like identify that which is, this is what I need to do. This is where it needs to go. Some physical anchors when possible. Okay. If there's a way to physically bring a concept that's abstract into reality or some kind of physical element to it, that's definitely helpful. Environmental control, controlling the environment, what's around you as you try to attempt the thing. Having that control and that certainty of what's around you helps. And that consequences will matter. This is important. That the consequences of not doing the thing matter now and not later. This is really important because that makes it where it's hard for you to then procrastinate because you know that the consequences are going to appear immediately. So you can't really procrastinate, right? Because if you do, the consequences will appear. So I'll give you some really high level examples to so that you get an idea. So training at the same place, same time, no debate. I'm gonna exercise and strength train Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 o'clock at the gym at my local gym. Okay, no debate, no decisions. It's there. That's what you're gonna do. Your meals are prepped or auto ordered. I prep meals. I do this, by the way, in real life all the time. I prep my meals. I plan. I have my chicken ready. I have like my fake desserts or 0 calorie desserts ready. I have my carbs in place that I'm going to consume, and I have a plan. Okay, auto ordered, prepared, organized. Another thing, public commitments because of our fear of shame. Remember how we talked about that fear and guilt of shame? So, a public commitment is an external motivator. It's a good driver. Coaching or accountability, likewise, same thing. You don't want to disappoint that coach or that accountability partner. So, those work phenomenally well for people with ADHD because now I don't want to disappoint that person or embarrass myself in front of that person. Removing distractions instead of resisting them. So, if you know something's going to be distracting you from your goal, remove it altogether. Don't resist it. Don't leave it there so that it's a temptation. You have to constantly exert willpower to resist it. Just remove it altogether, if at all possible. And then this is really important. If you're a computer person or an IT person, you'll understand the Kanban concept of the work in progress. You need fewer goals, not more. Fewer, less options. Why? Because you don't want analysis paralysis and you don't want the work in progress, your throughput, to be affected by too many decisions, okay, and too many goals. So having fewer goals narrows your choices, makes it easier for the ADHD brain to then execute. And this isn't, by the way, what I'm describing is not weakness. It's not a weakness of the ADHD brain. This is actually engineering. It's like, you don't shame a race car because it needs premium fuel. Same thing with the ADHD brain. You're not going to shame us because we have a certain way of operating that's more optimal. So again, I'm going to use what I know. So bodybuilding as a case study of why it works when everything else fails. And I've used this, if you have a Rice 41 bingo card, you know bodybuilding was going to come in here somewhere or exercise because it did change my life. But in any case, in this case, it's applicable. Let's talk about why bodybuilding or, I don't know, combat sports or extreme physical disciplines of any kind, you can put whichever physical discipline you like in here in place of bodybuilding, why they work so well for ADHD brains. So they provide immediate feedback. You're either doing the thing right or you're doing the thing wrong, and the feedback will tell you very quickly. They have clear rules, MMA, you can strike, you can take somebody down, you can lock, you can do this. Again, the rules are clear, removing any kind of indecision. The progress is visible. Strength training, you're going to get bigger, you're going to get healthier. MMA, you're going to start beating upon more advanced opponents quickly. You're going to progress through the ranks. Again, the progress is visible. You're going to get, I guess, if you're in the belt system, you're going to get progress in the belt system for like from white to blue to purple or whatever, because you become more skilled. It's visible. Pain-based reinforcement. These things are hard to do, physically hard. Getting punched in the face is hard. Doing a 4-plate, deadlift, that's hard. So there's some pain there. And that it helps you reinforce, that um, uh, that need for adaptation. Also, identity alignment. It helps you align. Like, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a combat artist, I'm a whatever it is, athlete. That again kind of helps you identify as part of that group or that activity, which also helps you focus. And then there tend to be non-negotiable structures, because look, either you lift the weight or you don't. Either you fight the opponent or you don't. Okay? Either you play the game or you don't. It's non-negotiable, and the way to do it is a certain way. In order to lift weights, I have to get under the bar and do it this way, and that's how it works. In order to do MMA, I have to get in the ring and I have to do this and follow these rules, etc. It's non-negotiable. You don't train because you're motivated, okay? You train because that's what you are. It becomes your identity. I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a MMA fighter, or whatever it is. And that's the key. That identity beats your motivation every time, because as a bodybuilder, this is what I do. As a combat artist or MMA participant, this is what I do. When the behavior becomes non-negotiable, then the motivation becomes irrelevant, because it's what you do. Okay? So, final truths and observations, and an invitation to you to do a hard reset so that you can work, with motivation rather than against motivation. And let's land this plane. So, motivation is not your engine, it's just a spark, okay? And sparks are unreliable. If you're an ADHD high performer, look, you need to stop chasing motivation. You need to stop shaming inconsistency and stop trying to feel ready. I'm ready to do the thing. Just build a system that assumes that there will be low dopamine days, there will be high resistance, and there'll be zero inspiration. Your system has to account for this, because that's real life. Okay, real life, there will be days that you're just not into it and you still have to do the thing. So motivation is fleeting. Like I said, it's a spark, but it's not the fuel that gets you all the way through. Motivation didn't fail you. You were just asking it to do a job that it was never designed to do for you. So, knowing this, build the structure, adopt the identity. I am the whatever difficult thing it is. Remove the exits, remove the options to quit or to procrastinate. And let motivation show up when it wants. When it shows up, great. You have a little extra. But you'll be moving forward either way, with or without it. You're still progressing towards that goal as a high performer. So, all right, that's all I got for this one. If this hit, share it with someone who keeps calling themselves lazy, but secretly knows they're dangerous when properly aimed. And you know who you are out there. We don't need more motivation. What we need are better systems and how to identify them and apply them. And that's the end of my rant of my exposition here on why motivation fails ADHD high performance. Please comment, subscribe, do all the things. I hope this was helpful. I hope this helped clarify things. And more importantly, I hope this helps you improve your life and your quality of life by taking some of these tips and putting them in action in your own life, like I did. So again, hopefully you'll get something out of this. This is Gonzo from Rise 41. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye-bye.